On blast.
This is Ball on Blast, part of the On Blast Podcast Network. Available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube. If you like it, then subscribe and tell your friends. Holla.
On blast.
Thank you. You're far too kind for tuning in once again to another thing we like to call the Ball on Blast Podcast. As always, my name is Sheldon Alexander. I'm joined by my guy, Andrew Webster. Webby, what is good?
Next question.
I see what you did there.
Listen, I got no time for this. You and me, this is contentious times, Sheldon. We are taking it back to the 2001 NBA playoffs.
I will say this much, Webby. Two things. First off, one, a bunch of your former coworkers are very interested to hear our conversation of this Raptors Sixers talk.
I know.
Because
I bet.
I think you kind of set Twitter on a blaze there, dropping what'd you tweet out?
Hashtag Sixers in 6.
Yes. Some of our friends are not happy with you, Mr. Andrew Webster. It might be a contentious podcast. It might be a contentious week and a bit, depending on how long this series goes. But
listen, these are two cities, respective cities of Philadelphia and Toronto that mean quite a bit to me. Mm-hmm. I've spent most of my life living in either one of these two cities.
Okay.
And these are two teams that whenever they play, I mean, like, these are the two teams that I watch in the NBA, most likely. It's the Raptors and the Sixers.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a really good series. With the thing that I learned, like, I guess over the last, since both teams won the other day on the same day and the matchup was set, is like, basically the universe, the basketball-consuming universe, thinks that Toronto's going to win this in, like, 5 games. Like, there's not a lot of people who are picking the Sixers to even come close in this series.
I'll be honest, that's the one thing that worries me. Because I do think that the Raptors will and should win this series. I'd give it 6 just because I think the Sixers are a solid team. They have, like, very good players that could win a game for you. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could have the crazy Embiid game where he's just beast mode and he wins a game for you. You could say the same about Jimmy Butler. Right? You could see them winning a game just by themselves. They're that good. So I see the Raptors winning the series, but I will be honest with you. The fact that everybody is picking the Raptors and thinking it's going to be really easy, it's never really a good sign. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. I like, my other thing here, too, is that I've been asking a lot of people that I know who watch a lot of basketball, but that all live in Ontario and root for the Raptors. Okay. But, I mean, who would you say is the best player in this series?
Oh, Kawhi.
See, that is crazy to me.
No, not a chance. Come on.
That's crazy to me.
How?
Are you kidding me?
Please explain. Enlighten me, Mr. Andrew Webster.
Joel Embiid had an ascendant season this year.
Okay.
His numbers across the board are ridiculous.
Okay.
Offensively and defensively, Joel Embiid's numbers this season were better.
All I'm saying is Kawhi Leonard came out in a practice season pretty much and averaged career highs in like points and rebounds.
Joel Embiid missed, a fifth of the season?
Here's the thing, okay? Kawhi Leonard, I'll say this much. Joel Embiid actually physically hurt, whereas what the Sixers should have been doing with Joel Embiid was probably following what the Raptors did with Kawhi with a little bit of load management. And
Okay. Wrong question then.
Okay.
New question.
Okay. Hold on. Wait. For the record, are you conceding that argument?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, I'm not. My reform of this question to you then, Sheldon, is who's going to get more MVP votes this year?
Oh, well, that's just because Kawhi missed too many games because of load management, and writers don't like load management.
Joel Embiid missed a fifth of the season.
Yeah, but he was actually, like, hurt. The fact that, like, people don't like the trend of load management, right? And so that's going to be a detriment to Kawhi Leonard.
No. You're not going to tell me that Kawhi Leonard is getting less MVP votes on Joel Embiid because writers don't like that he sat out due to load management.
Oh, I definitely think
Embiid's gonna get more MVP votes because he had a better season than Kawhi Leonard had.
See, I disagree. I think if they both played the full season, Kawhi Leonard would be getting MVP votes because the Raptors were a better team than the Sixers.
But if he played the whole season, Joel Embiid would then, in this theory, also have a better season.
Webby, how much better could the Raptors season be? Kawhi missed, 22 games, and the Raptors won 59? Right? Like, how much better would they have been with Kawhi Leonard in the lineup?
Well, I don't know because he didn't play those games.
I see where you're going here. I'm just saying what Kawhi Leonard's ability to dominate the game on both ends of the floor as a guard in this era of basketball is more so he can have more of an effect on the game than Joel Embiid, who, for the most part, needs someone else to give him the ball.
Thinking that Kawhi Leonard is the best player in this series is wearing Raptor-colored glasses.
Wow.
Joel Embiid's the best player in the series, and I don't think it's really that close.
So here's my question for you.
Kawhi's incredible, yeah, but bro, I don't think there's many people on this Raptors team that can guard Joel Embiid.
First off, thanks to our guy Josh Lewenberg, who answered this question for you, Mr. Andrew Webster. And
okay.
Hold on. Before he...
Because I saw this too.
All I'm saying is Joel Embiid first versus Marc Gasol in his career, 5 games, Joel Embiid, 14 points, 4.4 turnovers, 34% from the floor. 34% from the floor.
How many games?
5 games. It's only going to be a 6 or 7 game series. What are we talking about? That's almost a playoff series.
I mean, they haven't faced each other they were in different conferences until about 3 months ago.
It's going to be Joel Embiid, and here's the one thing I will say too. That's very important to remember. One, even if you do think that Joel Embiid is better than Kawhi Leonard, I might consider giving you that if Joel Embiid is at 100%. But we know Joel Embiid is not at 100%, and therefore I cannot say that Joel Embiid is better than Kawhi Leonard. For one,
he's still cooked. He still cooked last series.
Come on, man. Are we talking about Jared Allen here?
Cooked.
Is this what we're talking about, Webby? Come on, man.
We're talking about somebody who actually has rim presence.
Come on, man.
See, I think the Raptors are really going to have to think about starting Serge Ibaka.
Do you know what I really?
Because I think Gasol's going to get torched in Game 1. We know the Raptors love losing Game 1s, and I'm sorry, man. Like, you can tell me that Gasol's played 5 games, really good games against Joel Embiid. Yeah. That's great, but this is going to be up close and personal, coming into your living room, the best pure center in the game,
who is hobbled. I think that's a major factor, and because you got to remember too, Webby, in this instance, Joel Embiid, it's not just Joel Embiid against Marc Gasol, it's Joel Embiid against Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka. So even if he does get Marc Gasol in foul trouble, which I'm with you, I'll bet with you, like on your side, that there will be a couple games where Marc Gasol gets in foul trouble, just because Embiid is such a load and he does a really good job at getting to the line. In fact, I'm pretty sure I saw the stat that the Sixers they ranked first in terms of free throw attempts in the playoffs, and the Raptors, I think, were near the bottom of that list, right? So Embiid does a good job in getting to the line. That means foul trouble for Marc Gasol. Luckily for the Raptors, they also have Serge Ibaka. And again, I'm going to emphasize this because I think it's a really big deal. If Embiid is not 100%, that's a real problem for the Sixers.
Well, the best thing that happened is that they both won their respective Game 5s.
Totally agree.
Because that, especially for the Sixers, that is going to give them that gives Embiid so much more time to rest that knee. Now, I'm telling you, he looked really good in that Game 5.
He did.
And the other thing that these Sixers are going to try to do the Raptors, we're going to see how it works, but they're going to try and push some buttons.
But come on, man. This is what I was going to ask you about this, because I felt from afar that why are you beefing with Jared Dudley and Like, that just seems so lame to me. And, like, we know Serge Ibaka is not here for the play.
It seemed like those guys were way more mad at the Sixers than the Sixers were at them.
Okay, but even if that is true, Joel Embiid doesn't need to be in post-game press conferences or post-game interviews saying Jared Dudley's a nobody.
Because he is a nobody.
Whether that's true or not, why are you feeding into this? It's like you're like Joel Embiid.
That's what he does, man.
It's a lot of front running. I'll say that. Joel Embiid beefs down, Webby. It's always with Andre Drummond. It's like guys on that level all the time.
He's got free real estate. He's got free real estate in half of the league's head.
Come on, man. Listen, all I'm saying is this beefing down stuff. Okay, the Raptors are vets. Okay. So Marc Gasol's not going to fall for that. Serge, you might not want Serge to fall for that because he might actually square up on Embiid if Embiid starts acting up. But they're not here for that, man. Kawhi is a robot. He's not getting involved in any of this stuff. Like, all those gimmicks and games that Embiid's going to be playing, playing in the media, trying to, hype up against the Raptors crowd or whatever, I don't think that stuff's going to work against the Raps. I really don't. But you think he's going to try to play those games, those mind games?
Oh, yeah, 100%. That's what he does.
Cerebral
assassin. Now, the only thing is, now, again, as a Sixers fan, the thing that I am a little worried about, the number one worry going into this series is the way that Kawhi has played Ben Simmons.
Yes.
Because there, I think you have you got more games. You got more of a pool to take from in terms of how Kawhi has performed against Ben Simmons, and it's been pretty incredible.
Well, the 3 games this year, Ben Simmons is averaging 8 turnovers per game.
Yeah.
That's not good.
No, it's not good. And so they're going to have to find a way that they can get Simmons involved in the game, doing what he does in terms of transition, and maybe even trying to post him up, but that doesn't do very well against Kawhi.
Yeah.
But they're going to have to find some sort of way to get him involved successfully against the Raptors.
So,
and if they don't, that could be the series. Mm-hmm. But I think there's more X factors. I know that that's something that on both sides we want to touch on. But I wouldn't even say that's an X factor. I would say that that's an A factor.
I definitely
of getting Simmons involved.
They need Ben Simmons to be highly productive. But my question for you, as a Sixers fan that clearly watches more Sixers games than I do, but I'll say this much: from what I do see, I kind of feel like the team doesn't fit together, right? Like, both teams made a bunch of moves during the season, right? And there was some time where it's like, oh, is there enough time to make this work? The names obviously make both rosters look legit, but I feel as if the Sixers still haven't really gotten into that groove with everybody in the lineup, in the sense that there's a couple different styles at play here. Ben Simmons needs to be running up and down, right? Leading fast breaks, doing all that stuff. Can you do that with Embiid on the floor? And the Embiid on the floor, if he's trailing and shooting threes, like, if I'm the Raps, I want Embiid out there shooting threes. Like, that's fine. Like, I feel like they're better if they try to slow it down, play in the half court, dump it into Embiid all the time, let Jimmy cook in the half court.
But
that doesn't fit Ben Simmons at all.
But I think that with the different pieces, all the different pieces that you have with the Sixers, is that you can build those lineups as you go, and put enough pieces. Like, you can be versatile enough with that lineup that you can get Simmons out there, if maybe not necessarily with Embiid, then with other players, that it's going to benefit what he does a little bit more.
Okay.
But you're always going to get Embiid in there with Simmons every once in a while, just because having two players that size, being able to play the in and out is really good.
Are you worried at all?
And it's going to be a tough cover for the Raptors.
No, I could see that, but the one thing I will say, on the defensive end of the floor, advantage Raptors by a lot. No, I think the Sixers defense is kind of, I don't want to say it's shaky, but the Raptors definitely have the advantage in terms of the defensive end. We know Kawhi's resume is proven. No, Joel Embiid is not Nick Vucevic. I'm not going to say that. That's a ridiculous statement. But I'm saying you saw what Marc Gasol was able to do to Vucevic in terms of just limit his production.
Even saying their names in the same sentence.
But listen to what I'm saying.
Feels like blasphemy.
I'm just saying
because Embiid is so much more athletic.
I'm saying limit his production. And the stats we already gave in terms of the 5 games, Joel Embiid's averaging 10 less points than his career average in 5 games against Marc Gasol. Like, all I'm saying is the Raptors defensively, we've seen what they can do when they flick the switch. They've showed at the end of that season that Marc Gasol being inserted into the starting lineup has helped their offense flow a lot better, but also as a vet kind of knows his role defensively, which is massively important, right? Like, if not for that one slip up in game 1 between Kawhi and Gasol, that's a sweep in the first round, right? But and don't get me wrong, the Sixers are way better than the Magic, and the Raptors are better than the Nets. Totally.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? But my point, though, is I just think defensively the Raptors have the advantage, and I think offensively, their offense with all their new pieces, I feel like that has clicked, whereas I don't know if you can say the same thing about the Sixers with all these pieces. Like Tobias, what are you getting from Tobias? What are you expecting from Tobias? How does he fit in to this equation with Jimmy?
3-point shooting.
So he's just standing in the corner and shooting threes?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's what we need him to do. And you know, the other one is J.J. Redick. It's like, who on the Raptors is going to chase J.J. Redick around screens?
The Raptors got it. Come on, man. The Raptors.
Is Kyle Lowry's big ass going to be getting around those screens, chasing J.J. Redick around? Because right now, if I'm looking at the 2 starting 5s, that's like Kyle's not going to be guarding Ben Simmons. He's not going to be guarding Jimmy Butler.
I bet you they try to put him on Tobias or Jimmy. That's what I bet you they try to do. I'd say Tobias probably.
And then what, you've got Danny Green running around the screens?
Probably, yeah. I also think Kyle can run around and try to run around with J.J. Redick. Because, again, when I watch the Sixers offense, I don't know how much that is. Like, J.J. Redick might be running around all these screens, but how much is he actually getting the ball? Also, from the Raptors' point of view, if Kyle Lowry has to dedicate himself to doing that, he doesn't have to expend as much energy on offense anymore because we know that the Raptors don't need him to get 20 points a night as previous Raptors teams have.
You need him to be shooting 3-pointers, though.
Yeah, he can hit open threes, man. You don't see that ball movement, Raptors offense, Webby? Come on now.
Listen, I'm just saying I understand, why the Raptors are favored in this series, but I'm just a little hesitant to be saying that this one, let's book our ticket to the Eastern Conference Finals.
No. I think this is going to be a close series. I think the games will be close. I don't really see, I'm not one of these people saying Raptors are going to win in 5 and they're going to run the Sixers out of the gym. I'm not saying that at all. I think the contrast in styles, I just think when the Raptors, we've seen the Raptors offense click on all cylinders for a long, extended period of time. Right? I feel like since the All-Star break, all those numbers pointing to how the Raptors have led the league in 3-point shooting since the trade deadline, all of those things have just proven and shown what they can do. Now, the one thing I will say, I'm interested in the coaching matchup because I feel like Nick Nurse is still trying to run this substitution pattern with Fred VanVleet and Norm playing together, and it hasn't really worked all season consistently. It didn't really work in the first round of the playoffs against the Magic. Now, the Sixers, on the other hand, that Brett Brown likes to ride his stars, right? Like Embiid is going to play heavy minutes, hurt or not, right? Jimmy's going to play heavy minutes. I'm interested to see how that matchup works out, just in terms of how both coaches run their bench. Talk to me a bit about the Sixers bench, Webby.
So this is where I was going to say the big X factor is.
Okay.
The big X factor in this series is going to be the bench.
Okay.
Because I think this is the one place that the Raptors have the biggest advantage over the Sixers.
Okay.
Because that unit, for better or for worse, plays a lot together. They roll out they roll out that bench unit quite a bit together. The problem with the Sixers is, like you say, Brown likes to use a mix of his starters because he has so many names. He can build up different lineups, give a couple of guys a breather, but still have the big names in there.
Totally.
There's not necessarily a whole second unit that the Sixers roll out. They'll use a guy like Mike Scott and Boban, but then again, you're not going really 9 deep. So that's really going to be interesting to see a team like the Sixers who goes 8 deep to the Raptors who at times will go 10.
Yeah, I mean, in the first round, the Raps kept it pretty much to 9. I mean, Jody Meeks was getting some minutes, but not real, legit, meaningful minutes.
Right.
So it was mostly at 9, and you were seeing Serge, Norm, and Freddie get the bulk of the minutes. But as you mentioned, they were playing together. And in most of those situations, save for one of the games, I think, the Raptors bench wasn't really doing the job at all. And that could be a problem going forward unless you commit to, hey, we already saw Siakam play 40 minutes in the first round. Is Kawhi going to do the same thing in round 2? Right? Like, how much are you riding Kawhi and Siakam in round 2? Especially if you're seeing major minutes from Jimmy Butler and Tobias and Embiid, right? That's what I'm
Right.
super interested to see that side of it. But you mentioned the bench for the Sixers being your X factor. My X factor is Kyle Lowry. Reason being, I'm interested to see how Kyle Lowry always seems to get a little extra boost from playing in Philly. Now you're getting a playoff series of Kyle in Philly. I'm interested to see how that affects him, right? And as I know you watch a lot of Raptors games too, Webby, in terms of Raptors playoffs, we've seen the up and down nature of Kyle Lowry's playoff performances, right?
Yeah.
He's solid numbers. The averages are solid, but he'll have some no-show games and then have some big-time games following it up. I'm interested to see how that wave continues against Philly, against a team that he's normally hyped up to play against at home or on the road because that's his hometown. I'm really interested to see how Kyle Lowry plays.
Especially if they start to try and do things like we know that Lowry's had conditioning problems that catch up with him in the playoffs. If I was Brett Brown, I'd be trying to focus everything that I can do on offense to get Kyle Lowry running around on defense.
Yeah.
I would try to wear him out. Like, that's what I would try to do. Now, is Brett Brown going to do that? Yeah, who knows? But that would be my one goal, especially early in the series, is see if you can, like, put some body blows on Lowry and really make those miles, the odometer on his clock really start ticking as much as you can.
The thing, too, with Lowry, right? He took a bunch of charges. I think it was like 4 charges in that
game
game
he took
5.
4 in that other game, yeah.
Popped his finger out and then popped it back in, but says he's okay, right? Heading into this series now. And the point, though, that I'm really trying to make, though, is Kyle Lowry, we saw the spurts from him, right? Like, after the 0-point performance in game 1, he came back with a monster game 2, and then just the way that he started that game 5 closeout game with 9 straight points, he's going to do that, I feel like, in this series. He's going to pick his spots. This is a Kyle Lowry we're going to see going forward, right? The guy who picks his spots, and I think you mentioned this before on a podcast, but, you know, he might take over a 3 to 5 minute part of the second quarter, right? Or like the third quarter. Like, that's what you're going to see from Kyle Lowry. It's not going to be a full game, multiple games in a row of Kyle Lowry putting up 20-plus points. But he'll get you, 9 and a quarter, and you look up and you're like, oh, okay, that completely just swung a game, right? I'm super interested in terms of how high those waves are and how low they get, because I feel like he's going to come in super juiced up to play in his hometown in the playoffs in Philly, especially with so many eyes on him already because the narrative of, Kyle Lowry doesn't show up in the playoffs, and you had all those stats come out afterwards saying that he's actually leading the league in plus minus after game 5. Did you see that one? Like,
no, I didn't.
It's just a thing where Kyle Lowry, at this point, and you'll appreciate this because he's a Philly guy, right? So you've seen the work that Kyle Lowry's done as a Philly dude for so long. But the fact that a lot of the things, it's not going to show up, beautifully on a stat sheet, right? You're gonna look at the plus minus stuff and see that, oh, okay, he's affecting the game by taking charges. He's affecting the game by finding Siakam on the leak out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm interested to see those things from Kyle Lowry. What are you thinking from the Philly perspective in terms of Kyle Lowry coming home and how that matchup's going to work out?
Yeah, well, like you say, he always gears himself up, it seems like, for the games when he comes to Philly. Now, again, it'll be interesting to see what the defensive assignments are when the Raptors have the ball in the half court. But again, like in the other way, when the Sixers are on offense, I'm trying to get Lowry outside of the paint and not just lagging around so he can come in with that help defense and take those charges. I think the number one thing is going to be to try and gas him out as much as you can.
Yeah, here's the stat, sorry. Lowry finished the first round with the best plus-minus thus far in the NBA playoffs. Top three are Lowry at plus 106, Giannis at plus 98, Kawhi at plus 94. And, I mean, plus-minus stat, we talk about it all the time. Does it tell you everything? No, but it is a metric, right?
Of course.
And watching those games, you could tell Kyle Lowry, I mean, is he the 0 for 7, 0 points that he was in Game 1? No. Is he the 22 points and 7 assists in Game 2? No. It's probably somewhere in the middle, right? But I feel like the waves are going to swing one game to the next. But a guy I want to ask you about, Webby, that we haven't mentioned yet is Pascal Siakam. I think he pretty much has the most improved player award locked up. I feel like we'd agree upon that at this point, probably. Yeah. But he's brought the glow up to the playoffs so far, right? His first playoff in terms of having a starring role, let's say, on the Raptors, and against a team that he struggled against in the Orlando Magic in the regular season, but didn't matter come playoff time as he put up 22 points and 8 rebounds in the playoffs. From the Sixers side of things, are you worried about Siakam, and what's the game plan should it be to kind of slow him down?
It's tough, man. I mean, he has been so incredible, and just, again, watching him in the first round of the playoffs, and this season, it's what he can do in transition. On the move is just so incredible, like a little like Ben Simmons, right? Yeah. Just with the full head of steam, he's going to get to the 10, and more than likely he's going to get it in there as well. But again, am I that afraid of Pascal Siakam? No, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm really not.
No, that's fair.
He's had a great season for sure, but the guy that you're worried about, if you're the Sixers, there's one guy, and it's shutting down Kawhi. I know it's easier said than done, but if you can even throw everything that you have at Kawhi and let the chips fall where they may with the other players on the Raptors, I think that's what you got to do.
Who gets the matchup of Kawhi? Is it Jimmy?
Oh, I would think. It depends because, again, you're going to be able to be so versatile with that lineup. So, like, I'm sure at times it'll be Jimmy, at times it'll be Ben Simmons, at times it'll be Tobias Harris, at times it'll be Mike Scott.
No, that's Mike Scott. No, that's fair. That's fair. I'm really interested to see how that all plays out. And my question for you as well, though, as a Sixers fan, who gets the ball in crunch time? Last second shot. Who do you want with the ball in their hands?
It's drawn up for JJ. It always is.
What?
Yeah.
For real?
Last shot is always drawn up for JJ Redick.
That's ridiculous.
It's true.
Oh. I'll take my chances with that if I'm the Raps. I'm just saying, if that's the case, man, I'll take my chances with that if I'm the Raptors for sure.
I mean, other than dumping it in the post and getting a foul on Joel, like everybody who's over the 6'8" or 6'9" on the Raptors is going to do, which is foul Embiid all the time. He's just going to be racking up fouls on them.
Is Jimmy not getting the, okay, everybody clear out for Jimmy and let Jimmy go? No?
No, I think that no.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I just think this is going to be the series where we find out, like, people were wondering about the load management was a huge topic for the whole season. I think people were kind of wondering, you heard Kawhi say he laces them up come playoff time, and you really saw that in round one in the sense that once the ball was tipped in the air, he came out with like 6 quick points in like 3 of the 5 games, right? Like he was just cooking. I'm interested to see how that translates now into the second round. And he knows, right? When you look across and you see Jimmy Butler, Tobias, you see the big names. Like, it's big boy time. It's go time for Kawhi. So I'm super excited just to see that from the standpoint of a Raptors team where you went into a lot of playoff series wondering what you were going to get from Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan. And it was kind of refreshing to see, oh, Kawhi's cool. He's all right. Like, that was the most refreshing part for me as a Raptor fan. But let me ask you, Webby, what's your pick? Who you got? I know who you got. Tell me, are you sticking with the Sixers in 6?
I'm going to say Sixers in 7.
Ooh, Sixers winning a Game 7 in Toronto. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they're going to win 2 games in Toronto, Game 1 and Game 7.
The Raptors are not losing Game 1. I'm very, very confident the Raptors are not coming out and losing Game 1. They are.
How many times have you said that? How many times have you said that in your basketball watching career?
To be honest, twice.
No.
Once.
More than twice.
No. Follow me. That I confidently said they're not losing Game 1. Twice. It was wishful thinking a bunch of times, don't get me wrong. But I'm saying being confident in like they will not lose Game 1, and it would be against the Magic. And I'll be honest, last year when they actually did win Game 1 against the Wizards. Before that, we knew it was a free for all in Game 1s. Before that, right? Like, come on, you can only fool me a couple times before it's just like, all right. Can these guys please, like, you're hoping, you're praying they win a Game 1, but, Paul George comes out and cooks on the Pacers, and you're just like, all right, really? Okay, so this is how this is going to go.
I'm just waiting for the Sixers to come out and punch somebody in the face. Game 1, make a statement. Set the tone for a tough physical play trip to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think they're going to come out and try and play as physically as they can.
I think so too. I think if you're the Sixers, your best bet is to try to slow down the Raptors and play in the half court and hope that the Raptors get themselves into trouble when the game slows down and they're either down and they just throw it to Kawhi and it turns into iso ball. That's not how the Raptors are successful, but I feel like the Sixers, on the other hand, if the game slows down and they're just dumping it into Embiid, he's getting Gasol and Serge into foul trouble, the Raps are in. They'll have big problems then, right? Playing the half court, being on the glass, Embiid will win the rebounding battle against Gasol and probably Serge as well, but definitely against Gasol. So if you're the Raptors, you need to speed the game up. The ball needs to be moving on a string on offense, and that's how the Raptors have to win. It has to be the team basketball that they've been playing for the first round and obviously towards the end of the towards the end of the regular season. But my pick, Webby, I'm going with Raptors in 6. I just think at the end of the day, the Raptors look like the better team, and I don't know if the Sixers are ready for prime time yet. I think there's still a lot of questions in terms of whose team it is, because even if you think that it's Embiid's team and Embiid thinks that, I just think that they're going to look and Jimmy's going to have moments where he's trying to figure out, okay, do I go now? Okay, do I go now? Oh, shit, we don't got it. I got to go now. And it might be too late because the Raptors know what they're doing. It's Kawhi cook, it's Siakam cook, and everyone else is just shooting threes.
I think if Embiid is healthy for this playoff series, I think it's Sixers in 7.
But Webby, he's not healthy. We know he's not healthy.
He's
not going to magically get healthy in like 3 days, and that's the biggest problem for the Sixers.
Looked pretty fucking healthy in a bunch of those games against the Nets, man.
Yo, man, Jared Dudley was out here like dropping trays for the Nets, man.
What did he have, like 30? He had like 34 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists, 6 blocks in one game.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, in a couple of those games, it took the Nets a while to realize, oh, we should probably just play small because we can't beat Embiid anyways. We can't slow him down anyways. But that also then did inflate Embiid's numbers in production, right? Like, I mean, Jared Dudley is not guarding Embiid, right? Is Embiid going to be able to guard Gasol at three-point line, or is Gasol just going to get a chance to wet threes? These are the questions I have, Webby, and I can't wait to find out. Game 1 is on Saturday. We don't know what time it'll be yet because it's dependent. Oh, the Spurs are up big right now. So there will be a Game 7.
Yeah. So it's like, I think so it'll probably be at 7.
Yeah.
Game 1 is probably at 7, I think.
Yes. Because there will be a Game 7 of the Spurs and Denver Nuggets on Saturday. So big series. Everyone's excited for this series because this is what we've been waiting for as Raptor fans. Right? Like, this is prime time now. This is when
the test.
Yeah, this is when the real playoffs.
This is the test. Yeah.
Side note, we'll end this Raptors talk with, have you seen the Game of Zones?
Nah, I'm not big into the game of zones.
I will tell you this though, just watch the Raptors one today. It's a great watch. It's hilarious. No. I'm telling you, trust me, Webby,
Okay.
if you just listen to one thing I have to say today, watch that Game of Zones, the Raptors one today. It's very good.
Okay.
It's on the Lowry and it's on the DeRozan trade.
Yeah, and they like burn him, right, at the stake?
I'm not going to give I don't want to give anything away, but I'll just say that. Just enjoy that one. That's one of our recommendations. How about that? Does that sound good?
I like it.
But let's move on to the Bucks and Celtics, and that's an interesting series as well because, I mean, there's no misses in terms of must-see TV in the Eastern Conference playoffs in the second round here because this is a big boy series. The Bucks looked unstoppable against a hobbled Blake Griffin and the Detroit Pistons. The Celtics, after a very tumultuous regular season. I don't know how you even describe that Celtics season. It was crazy. It was like up and down, infighting, Kyrie going crazy in the media.
Got it done first round.
They looked really good in the first round, but it was against the Pacers. So I'm going to start here and ask you, do you think the Celtics are the Celtics people anticipated them to be at the start of the season? Or was it just masked by the fact that the Pacers aren't really good and your man's Bogdanovich doesn't really have it? Him and Wes Matthews couldn't really get the job done. Yeah. Are you buying into the Celtics now heading into round 2 against the Bucks?
Lot of Wes Matthews in that sweep. Oh boy, really going out on this Wes Matthews. As corny as it sounds, I do think it's a bit of both.
Okay.
I think that the injury to Marcus Smart, while on the surface looked like something that might really hurt the Celtics, is like really in turn helped them out because it figured out what to do with Terry Rozier. Mm-hmm. And I think that Gordon Hayward, who obviously hasn't been right all season, is just, I guess, starting to really pick it up. He looked great the last couple of games of that series against Indiana, but I mean the big matchup here in this series against Giannis is going to be if Al Horford can do anything against Antetokounmpo.
Yeah.
Like, Horford's really good and underrated in what he can do defensively, but man, Giannis is a different beast. And if it starts to slip away from Boston, it could be a really short series.
Yeah, Giannis is a problem, right? And I don't even know if you're going to be able to stop Giannis. And I think that my game plan against the Bucks, regardless of whatever team you are, you almost, as crazy as this sounds, you got to not let Giannis get his, but almost accept the fact that Giannis is going to get his and focus in on trying to stop whoever the next guy is. So if that's Middleton, you really got to make sure that you're trying to make him work for his buckets. And if that means Giannis gets 35, cool. I don't know what Horford's going to do to try to slow him down. Do you just try to sit in the paint, hope that Giannis settles for jumpers and try to play positional defense in the paint? I think that might be your best bet if you're the Celtics. But you touched on the fact that Marcus Smart not being there actually helped them. It also just helped the minutes distribution, right? It opened up more perimeter minutes for Gordon Hayward, opened up more perimeter minutes for Jaylen Brown. And we talked about it on a couple podcasts ago that a lot of the talk from Celtic circles was that Gordon Hayward all season looked great in practice. Like, he was cooking dudes in practice the whole year. But the problem was when it translated to the game, he didn't really have he didn't have the same confidence. And so what that made them think was it was in his head. And he needed to get over the mental hurdle of being 100% and being able to be a top-level NBA player again. And you're seeing that now, right? Like, he was doing a whole lot of distributing. You could run your offense through him, so it's not through Kyrie all the time. And you kind of saw this creep up late in the regular season, but you really saw it in that first-round series. I mean, other than that one time he got banged on by, was it Miles Turner?
Yeah.
That was mean. But outside of that, if Hayward is playing at that level, and then you still have Tatum, Kyrie's resume is proven, that's a dangerous team. If you tell, you get Marcus Morris and Jaylen Brown, and you say, hey, your job is to just try to slow down Middleton, and then you let Tatum, Kyrie, and Hayward do what they do, I don't know if the Bucks can keep up because you're relying on guys that haven't really been there, right? Like, what are you really expecting from Bledsoe, right? Like, is Brook Lopez going to be balling in the playoffs? Like, you kind of have unproven guys. Like, George Hill, I think LeBron kind of saw how that experiment worked out last year, right?
Right.
So it's a very interesting matchup, but it could come down to one of your favorite things, Webby, coaching. Who has the advantage here?
And let me tell you, that the style of coaching that, I mean, we love Coach Bud, and it looks so great in the regular season, and it makes for amazing highlights, and it makes for unbelievable numbers for a guy like Giannis. But does it work in a tough playoff series? Like, sure, it might work against the Pistons, but the Boston Celtics and the talent that they have and the coach that they have, those aren't the Detroit Pistons.
And the truth of the matter is, we talk about it, how the NBA's kind of changed, and through the success of the Golden State Warriors, everyone plays this run and gun, we just shoot threes, right? But we've also seen that, hey, it's one thing when it's a regular season and you're running up and down and bombing all these threes. But when the moments get a little tighter in the playoffs, are some of these role guys who can shoot threes in the regular season, but now there's way more pressure, and now you're on the road. Do you know what I mean? Like, does it translate the same? I think that's what you mean in terms of Coach Bud and what we saw with the Atlanta Hawks teams, right? And in a sense,
and the thing is, when those things do slow down in the playoffs, and you have to get a buck in a half-court situation, the Celtics have proven to us, not just last year in the playoffs when they didn't have Kyrie, but now they have one of the best half-court scorers in the game as well.
Facts. Super facts, man. So if I were to ask you your pick for this series, Mr. Webster, where are you going here?
It's so tough. It's so tough. You know what? We'll go on a limb. We'll go Celtics in 7.
I'm right there with you. Celtics in 7. And the reason I'm going there is just because I think it'll be a hard-fought, back-and-forth series. I think the home teams might hold court, and then Game 7 comes along, and Kyrie's just ready. The road isn't going to affect Kyrie Irving. And this is where it really comes down to X's and O's. And I just think that Stevens has a lot more trusted pieces, let's say, that have been in those moments. The Celtics had a run last year where Tatum, Jaylen Brown, all those guys, Rozier, they got a chance to go all the way to the conference finals playing in so many tight and close games, whereas the Bucks supporting cast can't really say the same. So with that said, yeah, Celtics in 7. I'm okay with that pick. We agree there.
Now that you got my Celtics in 7 and Sixers in 7, watch the Bucks and the Raptors win in 5. It's just how it goes.
Right? Yeah, I mean, hey, the Bucks, I'm happy for them. They have a great fan base. Giannis is an absolute beast. But at the end of the day, the playoffs, to me, comes down to top-tier talent, and I think the Celtics' top-tier talent is better than Milwaukee's top-tier talent. Like, Giannis is the best player, but the next, what? Are all Celtics? The next 3 or 4 dudes?
Oh, four dudes.
Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
I always think the playoffs come down to top-tier talent and coaching. And Stevens has proven what he's able to do with those guys and make things work. The Celtics have a lot more depth, trusted depth. I like their wild cards. They still no Marcus Smart, but they got Marcus Morris still, who's not afraid to mix it up. I'm sure he'll try to rough up Giannis a little. They'll try to slow it up.
The Bucks definitely remember Scary Terry.
Right. That matchup is going to be a lot of fun. Scary Terry versus Bledsoe, round 2. That's going to be a lot of fun, right? So,
oh yeah.
I mean, if Bledsoe had that much trouble with Scary Terry, what's going to happen with Kyrie?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So, can't wait to see that. But again, that's going to be a lot of fun. And speaking of things that were a lot of fun, before we talk about the Western matchups, we got to talk about Russ versus Dame.
Listen, we got to talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder basically beating the Toronto Maple Leafs. All right, it's time to get real with this team.
You're hurting me on so many levels right now, Webby. So many levels, you're hurting me.
Listen, I'm just as sad to see both go in the first round. Mm-hmm. But the truth is that this is a team that not long ago, Shelley, had Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, and James Harden and now have Westbrook and haven't gotten anywhere since they went from 3 to 2 to 1 of those guys.
So here's a couple things, right? That, when the story gets told 5 years from now, we're not going to remember any of these things, right? But we've talked on this podcast the whole year that I don't think Russ is healthy. We know for a fact Paul George has, and I'm not trying to make excuses for Westbrook because Westbrook's not making excuses for Westbrook. So it's not on me to do that. I'm just saying what I've observed this whole season in terms of Westbrook's free throw shooting not being anywhere near it's normally been, right? But even regardless of that, if we even go to just Paul George, we know Paul George's shoulder is messed up. We'll probably end up finding out that he's going to have surgery at some point soon. And he was playing at an MVP type level for what, 3/4 of the season?
Yep.
And then that dwindles down. The other thing that I think really affected the series was no Nurkic. And the reason why I think that really affected the series that not a lot of people are talking about was because without Nurkic and them playing Cantor, but you're not getting like mega Cantor minutes, right? But you got enough Cantor.
Right. He played well.
He played well. He did play really well. But I think with no Nurkic, now OKC still trying to play Steven Adams, that was a problem. And you really couldn't do that. And they didn't pick up on that until like it was way too late. They needed to have Jeremy Grant playing at the 5 because all Dame Lillard and McCollum were doing, they were hunting Steven Adams on pick and rolls and just banging in threes. Now, when you add that to the math of Portland shoots a lot of threes and they shoot them well, and now there's no Nurkic, so they're going to shoot even more. Like his touches are now going to those guys who are shooting threes, and OKC shoots threes horribly. All that before you even get to Dame, right? Before you get to Dame Dalla, a lot of things were not going well for OKC. And I think the fact that they lost Nurkic, where everybody went to, us included, hey, the Thunder should win this series because Portland's missing one of their best guys. It also meant that one of OKC's best guys was going to be not as valuable to them. They just didn't know it yet. We didn't know it yet, but we saw it, no?
And you made a great point in that it took them a couple of games, almost too many, too late, to figure that out.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, is Eddie Munster going to be coaching the Thunder next season?
I honestly think they just go to Russ and ask Russ and PG, do you like him? And that's that. You know what I mean? And, like, I think that's what it comes down to because you're going to have to go through this whole thing where can anybody tell Russell Westbrook what to do, to, like, slow down, to, pick his spots a bit better? Because here's the thing, right? Someone at some point needs to, like, be the Zen master to Kobe and Shaq, right? Russ needs some of that because the Mamba mentality, hey, we love it. It's a great thing. But without the Zen master,
you need somebody to focus all that raw energy.
Yeah, definitely.
But who out there can do that?
I don't know. And I don't even know if that really exists in this modern day NBA, right? Because a lot of that, it's a different era. It's a different generation. You got guys complaining about having to practice. So, right? Like, it's just different, right? And so I don't know if that, formula of coaching even works in this era. But it's clear, because you mentioned you're having the same issues with Russell Westbrook where he doesn't pick his spots well enough, right, to close out games and to win games. And he got more into the personal one-on-one battle with Dame Lillard, more so than what was best for the team in winning games.
And that ruined him.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we go back and we can start from the very beginning of their beef and when it started earlier this season, where basically Russell Westbrook told Dame that he's been busting his ass for years. And since then, Dame just like went to work on Russ, right? Like he put up like, it was like 30 plus, 50. Like it was just stupid. And Dame the whole time wasn't really talking back to Russ, right? Like not really. Or let me put it this way. Not as vocally as Russ was talking to Dame.
Yeah.
Especially after that, what game did they win? Game 3? And Schroeder and Russ were doing the rock the baby. Schroeder was doing the Dame time stuff. Is that where you think they really messed up the series? Like they got a little too happy after winning Game 3 to still be down 2-1?
No, I think you're right in that they really messed up in that they didn't make the proper adjustments soon enough. That certainly didn't help the situation in terms of trying to wake up the dragon or wake up the bear when it comes to getting Dame all fired up. It didn't really work out that well. But the thing is that I don't think that this is necessarily that big of an upset either.
No, that's fair.
It wasn't an upset in terms of the seeding. I mean, we treat it like the Thunder were, shocked by this Portland team, but all year they've been really good, and there's nobody, and I know that we use this bit of hyperbole so much, but there's nobody more underrated in the NBA than Damian Lillard. There's not.
For sure. And I think people mostly just look at the upset because they thought, and we all thought, hey, no Nurkic, that's one of their best players. OKC should win this series. They have the 2 best players in the series. Like, I'm saying, like, that's like the surface level breakdown heading into the series, right? You think Paul George and Russ are the 2 best players in the series, then add in the fact that Portland would be missing their 3rd best player, advantage OKC. But once you play the games, and we talk about it all the time, the NBA is all about matchups. And, I mean, I don't know what is a good matchup against Dame Lillard, but clearly it wasn't Russell Westbrook or anybody on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Because let's get to this. Because Dame Lillard, have you ever, Webby, seen a better play, and I'm saying, follow me here, okay, from top to bottom, in the fact that add in all the trash talk that was going on leading in, right? Dame then, with the game and series on the line, hits a contested step back from pretty much half court to win the game, to win the series, to finish with a 50-piece, then waves by to the other team and gives us one of the greatest memes that look into the camera.
So good.
Of all time.
I mean,
top to bottom, is there a better play than that, Webby? Top to bottom.
Yes.
All things included.
You put this on Twitter the other day, and I absolutely had the correct answer for you in that the Philly special is the better play.
Okay, Webby. What if I ask you to be objective here?
If you want me to be sports specific, well, maybe we can talk, but there's nothing better than 4th and 1 in the Super Bowl against the Patriots
with your backup QB
running, catching a touchdown from your tight end. Like, that's the best player of all time. Just again because we're talking about the Super Bowl.
Okay.
I mean, this was a first round.
Yeah.
But in terms of incredible shots, I put it up there with the Derek Fisher.
I don't know, man. This is a walk-off to end the series, Webby. And the Derek Fisher, you could say maybe is a fluke shot.
Was the Derek Fisher to end the series as well?
No. That was just to, like, I think it was to win Game 6 to force Game 7, maybe. I think that's what it was.
That's an incredible
shot. Or maybe
shot.
to tie the series. But either way, like, the Spurs went from taking a stranglehold to forcing another game and eventually losing the series, right?
Right. I agree with Paul George in that it's a terrible shot.
Yeah, that's a good...
It's a bad shot. You should not be taking that shot. You shouldn't be. It's a step back 40-footer. You shouldn't be taking that shot at all. You should not, kids, you should not be taking that shot ever. But again, that's why it makes it so awesome.
I mean, so do you not buy into the stats that Tom Haberstroh put out that essentially said that Paul George says that it's a bad shot, but the statistics say that Dame Lillard was a perfect 5 for 5 on 30-footers in the series and 20 of 54 or 37% on the season and has been shooting from the logo all year.
That's not a 30-footer, man. That's not... It's not sure, he's got great... That's not a 30-footer, man. He was at the logo. He stepped back onto the logo.
He's from the logo and took a step back. Like, it's the most ridiculous thing ever. I more lean to the side of Paul George being like, that's not a good shot. Like, we're playing the result, right? Because it went in. But even if you shoot...
I'm super happy he took it.
Oh,
But he should never have taken it.
And, like, there's a difference between, the 54 times that you attempted this in the regular season against the Phoenix Suns, right? Like, that's great. But in terms of a game winner in the playoffs with the stakes that high, I don't know if that's the play call that you draw up out of the timeout. But I'll say this. One of the funniest tweets I saw, though, Webby, was it was of Lillard where he took off for the first basket of the series. And it was basically from the logo as well.
Oh, really?
And so it was side by side, like Dame's first shot, like the first basket scored in the series, and then the last basket scored in the series. And the caption just said, grand opening, grand closing.
Now, who are they going to play?
So they are going
We got a
going
game
to game
7. We got a game 7.
I think Denver wins at home. Whoa, hold on. I got to take that back. Because it's Pop. And I'm giving Pop the respect of saying that I'm going to take Greg Popovich of figuring out what to do and prepare his team for a game 7 on the road in comparison to the Young Bucks for the most part, right? Of the Denver Nuggets in a high stakes game 7 in the playoffs. When most of them, save maybe Paul Millsap, have ever been there.
You don't believe in Jokic, part of the doughy or white all-star team?
I'm more of a Marc Gasol guy these days, Webby.
No, again, hey, I think he's captain.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough.
He's going to get the work. Oh, he's going to get the work.
One of my favorite parts, though, before we leave the Dame Lillard thing, did you see the video of, I think I saw it on Complex, but it just focused on Seth Curry during Dame Lillard's shot.
No.
If you haven't seen it, anyone listening to this, just Google it or search it on Twitter. But basically, just type in Seth Curry and OKC, and basically they zoom in the court, and they zoom it in, so all you see as Lillard dribbles the ball up the floor, Seth Curry just walks into the corner, and he's just talking trash to OKC's bench, essentially telling them, Dame's about to win the game, right? And so you don't see Dame shoot it. You just see everyone kind of looking at the ball in the air. And then as it goes in, Seth Curry doesn't say anything. He just turns and mean mugs the bench. No words. Just stares him down as if, I told you so. And then walks off. Like, the levels of disrespect in that series were at an all-time high, and I was here for all of it because everybody wanted to smoke. And I know Westbrook's get it. He's become the GOAT or the whipping boy, and I'm Team Russ, right? Like, I'm saying this knowing people listen to this podcast know that I'm forever Team Russ. I ride or die with Russ. But I love just the energy of, playoff teams that don't like each other, right? Players that want to go at each other, win or lose. That is that's the best. No? Like, isn't that incredible?
Yeah, and that's why we tune into the playoffs, right?
Yes, and that's why, we're just two guys that decided to do a basketball podcast where we can discuss just that moment, man. Like, I was trying to edit, Webby, no word of a lie. I was trying to edit the Raptors pod and upload it to YouTube that night, and I just stopped because I wasn't really doing anything on the computer. I was just watching the game, and it was so crazy because the swings of that game were so incredible, man. It was such a crazy time, such a great game. Dame Lillard just told Russ to get out of here in the most epic way ever, and man, great times. What a time to be an NBA fan. It was
incredible,
right?
Just what we're spoiled with these second-round matchups.
For sure, and I know that Lou Will did all he could, and Pat Bev continues to play hard, and they're Montrez, Montrez. They continue to do work, and they forced it to a Game 6 against the Golden State Warriors. But I don't feel too bad in assuming Lou Will might get mad at me for this, as much as he got mad at Clay and the rest of the Warriors for looking ahead. But apologies, Lou Will. You're still my guy. You'll always be six man like Lou Will to me, right?
That's right.
But I'm going to look ahead here to the Rockets and Warriors matchup that I feel like the entire NBA fan base is looking forward to. And what do you think heading into that series in terms of how that matchup goes? Because last year the Rockets took them to 7. They lost Game 7 because they had one of the worst shooting performances in the history of playoff basketball to lose to the Warriors in Game 7. So the second time around, who you got, Webby?
I've got the Rockets.
Okay.
Because I really think we're getting to a point with the Warriors where a lot of this extracurricular stuff is starting. It's going to catch up with them. I've never seen anybody look so miserable on a team that is coming off a championship, their second straight, than Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast, but there was a comment. I think Bill Simmons did an interview with Adam Silver, and Adam Silver was talking about some data that he got through research about how and why NBA players are so depressed and why they're all upset. And it's mostly because they spend so much time on the road. And back in the day, like, you would talk to your teammates. Like, think of us as a society, and now we all spend so much time on our phones. But now as an NBA player, you're doing so much traveling, and now you always have your headset on, you're looking at your phone, and it's all through social media. There's no, like, human interaction anymore, and that's why if you're just taking in what's on Twitter, and if you're Kevin Durant, right, you're not going to be that happy. But to go back to the extracurriculars you're talking about, that 60 Minutes interview they did that was floating around.
It's crazy. They just seem so unhappy. And then now, even like I'm sure we can put it up on the Ball on Blast page, but what happened today, or I'm not sure if it was yesterday at Golden State practice, in terms of Draymond playing the music and Steve Kerr getting a little annoyed and even saying something to the reporters, like, this is not how a two-time defending NBA champion should be behaving.
Yeah. There's a lot there, man. I mean, Draymond, we know about Draymond and Steve Kerr have been beefing forever. We know, obviously, about Draymond and KD from earlier on in the season. Klay Thompson seemed really upset with the fact that they lost that game last night. Like, his post-game clips, like, he was upset, right? And I go back to that 60 Minutes interview because I feel like there's moments that we call in slang terms where you're telling on yourself. Do you know what I mean? And I think in that video, when the reporter asked, things have been going really great for you guys during this run. Like, do you ever find it crazy that people even think about? Do you ever think about playing on other teams? Like, how crazy is that even thought process? And the look on KD's face, he just looks down at the ground while Iguodala jumps in and answers a question and says, oh, I would never leave another team. But if I did, this would have to be the blueprint to get me to leave. And Steph's laughing, Sean Livingston's laughing, Iguodala's laughing. You know who's not laughing? Kevin Durant.
KD and Klay.
And
Klay wasn't laughing either.
And it's just so weird. Like, there's just been too many things that, the age-old adage, where there's smoke, there's fire. And people already think that KD's got 1 foot out. And it's not like people already think. Sorry. Draymond told us that they think that he already has 1 foot out. So it's not media hyperbole, right? But it's just such a weird situation, and it would be a lot easier to leave if they don't win a championship, right?
Exactly.
With all that said, I'm still taking the Warriors.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I'm taking the Warriors to win the championship.
Hold on. No, I thought you just said you're taking the Rockets in this series.
It's more, I think, that I hope the Rockets win.
Okay.
Okay. I think it is their time, but, man, it's so tough. Like, we have all this hullabaloo around the Warriors, and it's just, I know, it's just so tough to think that they're not going to pull it off.
And it's just the switch, right? Like, at the end of the day, once KD and Steph decide, hey, we're here, we're cooking, like, let's go, the Rockets don't have enough firepower. I know how they play, but we saw it last year. When it comes down to the come down, right, I still have yet to see James Harden put in work in a moment, in the biggest moments that his teams have ever had. Even if you go back to college, I've yet to see James Harden step up for his team and take the reins and win a big-time playoff game for his team. I haven't seen it yet. And until I do, I'm forced to take Kevin Durant Steph Curry, Draymond, even if they're beefing. Do I want them to win? No, I'm here for the tire fire, right? Like, I want to see the Warriors
I'm
go
here
down.
for this. I want this epic breakup to happen.
Oh, for sure. But I just don't think that the Rockets have enough. We've seen Paul. Can we trust Chris Paul to stay healthy? I mean, it's probably better that they're getting them in the second round because it's less time for Chris Paul to get hurt, right? So that's probably a plus for the Rockets. But am I really here relying on Austin Rivers to put in work? Like, is that a thing that I'm gonna be prepared to do? Nah, I can't do it. But with that said, I'm gonna enjoy every moment of what will probably be a 6 or 7 game series. I'm gonna enjoy all the trash talking, the Draymond antics, just as much as I'm enjoying this Pat Beverly, Lou Will antics in Montrez in the first round, right?
Now, refresh my memory. We didn't have Chris Paul for games 5, 6, and 7 last year?
I know 6 and 7 for sure. There was no Chris Paul.
Okay.
6 and 7 for sure. I'm like 99% sure Chris Paul did not play in 6 and 7. And, I mean, hey, the Rockets, if you could go back to having that Game 6 at home with a chance to close them out. Oh, no, sorry. Game 7 would have been at home for the Rockets, right? Game 6 was in Golden State. Yeah. I don't know, man. To have that chance again, I just can't buy it. I just can't buy into the Rockets. It's one of those things where I need to see it to believe it before I'm like, yeah, I'm taking the Rockets to beat the Golden State Warriors. Unless your man Steve Kerr shows his great coaching skills, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yo, they said Bogut's drawing up plays for them, man. Come on, man.
What, in the playoffs?
They said Bogut's been, I mean, I don't know if the story was from the playoffs or the end of the regular season, but they said Bogut's been so refreshed and, he's brought a positive vibe because he got, I don't want to say humbled, but he got a different appreciation for the NBA after being away and playing in the Australian League and now coming back to the NBA. It's given him, he has an extra pep in his step and he's, it's been positive energy around their team, let's say.
He's a crazy right-wing conspiracy guy, right?
Oh, I did not know that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's, like, into that Pizzagate stuff, and, like, he's tweeting through it. Yeah, it's really weird.
I had no idea.
Like your boy Nick Bosa on the 49ers, too.
That's a whole other story. I don't even... Yeah. There's a lot there. I don't even want to start.
It's not the NFL on Blast podcast.
But I'll ask you this, Webby, just to wrap up our second round pseudo preview of the series, which is either Portland versus Denver or San Antonio. What we're assuming will be Rockets and Warriors. Again, apologies to the Clippers, but hey, Steve Ballmer's rich. He can understand, right?
100% running his LA team like a business instead of the Lakers who are running it like TMZ.
Yo, did you hear the story that came out today? So Magic tweeted out something to the effect of eventually the truth will come to light. And then later on, Rick Bucher went on TV and said that Magic stepped down because he was on. So there's an email chain, right? And basically Jeannie Buss, Magic, and Pelinka. And there'd be some messages or some chains where Magic was either CC'd on everything, like all the communication, right? Or blind copied on some of them, right? And by accident, Jeannie and Pelinka forgot what thread they were on, and they were talking shit about Magic in an email thread that he then got forwarded and read the emails. And that's why Magic stepped down. That's what Rick Bucher's reporting. That's what he went on. I want to say he was on Colin Cowherd today. Right? But yeah, that's
incredible.
So to further your point about the Lakers just being a complete gong show. Yeah, Magic Johnson reportedly quit after Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss exchanged emails criticizing him. He reportedly accidentally was CC'd on the emails. And his tweet was, quote, "The truth will always come to light."
Never reply all, kids.
Woo.
Never reply all.
But yeah, further to your point, shouts to Ballmer. Ballmer is winning. Winning.
and really turned it around too when he first came on as owner. I mean, I know that that franchise was in a tough spot, but it seemed like he didn't quite know how to run it. But now it's looking like a really good destination for some free agents.
Totally agree. I was going to ask you though, Webby, of all those series, if I remove the Raptors and Sixers, because we all know, hey, that's what we're here for, right? What's the second series that you're looking forward to the most? Is it Rockets Warriors?
Oh yeah, it's got to be Rockets Warriors.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope you're on the same.
It's going to be a lot of late nights.
Yo, man, I was just about to say it, man. I feel bad for people in relationships, basketball fans in relationships, basketball fans with kids, because
who work 9 to 5.
Well, I'm saying for my friends alone, and I'm single, I do not have kids, but my friends alone, like if you need me for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be on my couch watching basketball like every single night, right? Like, hey, do you want to go do this? I don't know if they're going to have the game on, man, right? Like that's going to be my answer, and I'm totally okay with that.
That's the life we live, man. That's it.
NBA, man. NBA. Well, the other thing that is sweeping the nation or sweeping the world, other than the NBA playoffs, is we all anticipate the second round, but we're also anticipating Game of Thrones.
Ooh, going to be a big Thrones episode.
So we're 2 episodes in, and I'll start with this before we get to what's going to happen or what we think is going to happen. How are you enjoying this season so far, Mr. Andrew Webster? 2 episodes in to the final season of Game of Thrones.
Complete dud so far.
What? Duds?
Complete dud.
Why? Explain yourself,
dud.
Please.
Man, the first 2 episodes, first of all, should have been 1 episode.
Wow.
Okay? We were told that this season was going to have these super long episodes. I just got 2 hours of the same shit happening over and over again. Here's my other thing that I have a problem with right now in the season, is that it seems like everything is now happening in a vacuum.
Okay.
The thing that I loved about this show was that this show had such a long memory. Houses remembered what houses did to them centuries ago. Mm-hmm. Theon Greyjoy killed half of Winterfell.
Yes.
And everybody's okay with him now?
Well, he saved Sansa, man. Sansa.
I thought Tyrion was supposed to be some master plotter, thinker. He's an idiot now. Daenerys might be the worst character on television now. Whoa. Every time she steps on screen, this show grinds to a halt. Tell me their plan. Tell me their plan for these White Walkers.
Hold on, just to clarify. White Walkers, are you saying that you are opposed every time the Mother of Dragons enters a scene, Webby?
In this season,
every time she appears on your television screen, I'm just saying I smile every time she appears on my television screen. Listen, I'm just saying
she's a beautiful woman, and I'm not going to deny that. But I'm saying I know.
I'm messing with you.
It's just the character support. Now, again, tell me this plan that they have for when the White Walkers come.
They can't give that away. We're going to see what the plan is, man.
No, we've seen what the plan is. Put Bran and Theon in the Weirwoods, and then the guy's like, yeah, we should have the dragons there, and Jon Snow, some military. No, you know what? No, we don't want the dragons.
Hold on. The one thing,
boy, what do you? I'm going to keep going.
No, go on,
okay,
please.
Because my other thing here too is all the women and children going to the crypt.
Okay.
And we spent 45 minutes last week with everybody telling us how safe the crypt is.
Okay.
What do you think's going to happen in that crypt?
Oh, that shit's getting blown up.
Oh, they're all going to die. The only way.
Hold on. Can I stop you for 1 second, just because I always follow, like, as much as I enjoy all the episodes of Game of Thrones Twitter is like the best thing ever. But you were just talking about feeding all the women and children. T-Pain had like the best quote ever. He's like, for some strange reason, for the entire time that they had the scene where they're feeding everyone the soup, he's like, his tweet was simply, I don't know why, but the only thing I'm focused on is the fact that no one's dipped the bread in the soup yet. It is really bothering me. I just thought that was amazing. Sorry, I had to stop you for that because it was T-Pain tweeting the most ridiculous shit about Game of Thrones. But please continue.
Okay, again, with Thrones Twitter, like, we have to have some kind of critical thinking here, guys. I know this is a super popular show, but this is not the you look at this show and yeah, it's entertaining. And like I was telling a buddy of mine, it's better than 95% of the stuff that's on TV.
Super facts.
But to put this show in the Mount Rushmore, to use a tired phrase, of TV shows is crazy.
Wow.
This show is not as good as The Wire.
Okay.
This show is not as good as Sopranos. This show is not as good as Mad Men. It's just not. Those shows were fully developed. They had great, and you know what? Game of Thrones did too. But once they caught up to the books, these guys, these writers, they don't know where to go. And not only that, but they've put a hard out on this show, so they have to wrap everything up. And it's just not good. It's not satisfying.
So I'm going to say this, Mr. Andrew Webster. For anyone who could be listening to this throughout the weekend, we will emphasize the point that we are talking before episode 3. And I'm highlighting this
and now,
because...
Again, episode 3 could be completely insane. But here's the thing. Okay, I was a big fan. Remember that episode when they go up to the north and they fight all those White Walkers and they escape with their lives and then they all rise up from the dead?
Yeah.
That's one of the best episodes of TV I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
It was an incredible bottle episode about one battle and about the hopelessness of what it's like to fight this army of the dead.
Yes.
It looked like it was so great, so powerful. It was unbelievable action. Everybody points to last season about the Battle of the Bastards.
Which was good.
Truth, it was okay.
Okay.
It wasn't great.
Okay.
I'm hoping that this battle, though, and listen, I'm not a guy who I need the blood and guts for it to be a good story. No. I like that story shit. But my problem is, that story shit is now corny.
Okay. So, to counter your points, Mr. Andrew Webster, I think I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes because someone was describing it to me at work as it was kind of like the first day of school, right? Where you're catching up with all your friends from what happened over summer holidays, right? And for me, I'm not the biggest Game of Thrones super fan in terms of, I never read the books or anything like that. And I'm the guy who watches a show and I'm like, wait, who's that guy again? Yo, what's that guy's name again? Oh yeah, that's that guy's brother, right? I'm that guy, right? So
See, I'm the opposite. I read the books. I love the books. And I'm like, okay, where are the Freys?
Okay.
Where are the Karstarks?
Yeah.
Now we're just, we've gotten rid of all of these great, minor characters that this show was so incredible in terms of setting up their background to now we have 8 people and it's such a big deal and these stars are so big. It's like Gilly comes out in Winterfell where everybody's dirty and ragged and she looks like she just stepped foot out of her trailer getting makeup done.
So, hold on. My thing is, the reason I enjoyed the first 2 episodes was, yes, everyone's catching up. You're getting to see who everyone is. But I also think I appreciate the slow build and the setup. Because I feel all that we just saw, especially in episode 2, anyone who was, happy and smiling there, I think they die next episode, right?
Well, I hope they all die.
No, but for sure. A lot of people are about to die. But I feel all those things were all a setup, right? Your man's Podrick singing his song, he's out. That was his goodbye, right? Homegirl getting knighted by Jamie, okay, cool, she's out.
No. The ultimate worst was your boy Grey Worm and the other girl, and they're like, listen, hey, when this all blows over, let's go to the beach, get a boat, and we're gonna sail around the world together. It was like, oh, you're both dead.
It's that's it, right?
Jamie Knight's Brienne, you're dead.
Yeah, you're gone. See ya. But also I read some weird theory thinking that you can't trust Grey Worm's girl. She's up to something, which I kind of found that'd be the weirdest twist ever. But I feel we got to be in for some crazy weird ass twist / mad motherfuckers dying. But I appreciated the slow build because you got to wrap up characters before they die. So it's oh, these people made peace with each other. Okay, cool, you're dead. Oh, all Brienne wanted as a kid was to be knighted, and boom, she got that. Okay, you're dead. I feel you needed all those things. And Let's
But
be
it's
honest.
just it's so telegraphed. It's like, yeah, exactly. Brienne got what she wanted. Now she's going to die.
But
like, none of this stuff is going to be a surprise to us come Sunday.
But are you really mad at my guy Thormund? What's his name? My guy telling the story
Giant's
about
Bane?
the giant milk.
Yeah.
You're mad at
It was
that?
great.
That was incredible.
No. He's a great character.
That scene was incredible, Webby. Him telling the story of why he's so big, and it's because he sucked at the teat. What did he say? What was it? And then he just starts
He suckled the giant woman.
Come on, man. That's amazing. And I'm always here for Tyrion's comedy hour. I'm always here for that.
What happened to Tyrion?
Hey,
Did he have a lobotomy?
he's got to make a comeback,
Like
man. I think he's going to be a closer. He's going to be a closer, man.
He's dead.
I don't know.
He's deader than dead.
I can't wait, man. I'm in. I thought those last 2 episodes were so good. I appreciated the slow burn. The only thing I thought that was terrible was that sex scene. Like, come on, that was the most uncomfortable shit ever. I wasn't one of the people that Googled what's her name's age, but because I was like, there's no way they would put her like. There was just I just didn't want to see it. Period.
I read the book and I know how old she's supposed to be, and I was like, I don't think you can really show this on television.
Wow. Yeah, see, even all that's too deep for me. I just didn't want to see that at all anyways. Although, I will give a shout out to Sophie Turner, who continues to be living her best life.
Which was amazing. This was amazing.
Her post was incredible, right? I don't know. If people don't know what we're referring to, Sophie Turner was, I guess, bigging up her homegirl having a nude seed and is just chugging wine while saying something about Easter Sunday and a hopping on. What did she say? Hopping on the say? Is that what she said? It was the most ridiculous thing ever. I just thought, apologies if you're listening in the car with your kids, but I feel like you should know by now that, hey, things get a little after dark on the Ball on Blast podcast from time to time, right?
Every once in a while, yeah.
But Webby, I'm here for all of this, man. Who doesn't die then? What do you think's gonna happen?
God, I hope they all die. I just want I want the White Walkers and Cersei to win at this point. I'm so sick of everybody who's in Winterfell.
Oh.
It's all terrible. They should all be murdered. I'm rooting for Cersei.
I'm not mad at Cersei at all. The one thing I will say about this show that I think is really, 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 really dope, and I think like the female characters on this show, I know in this era of the Me Too movement and all that, there's been a lot of shows that have taken the turn to make sure that they have strong female characters. And it's a shame that obviously it's taken till 2019 for this to happen. But I will say, on this show, the female characters are so badass on this show. It's super dope, right? Like when Sansa and the Mother of Dragons, when they have their first interaction and that shade that Sansa gives her, like that side eye, I was sitting there like, oh, I was doing the finger snap. Like, I just think the whole thing's dope. The whole thing, like the fact that they're running it and they're all badasses, like, you know.
Do you know what I mean when I say jump the shark?
Yes.
Like, have you heard that term before?
Yes.
This show jumped the shark 2 seasons ago.
Wow. Okay.
This show had it all and lost it.
All I'm going to say is we will revisit this conversation after episode 3.
After episode 3.
Which will, I mean, no doubt has to be fuego fire, right?
Well, it's being hyped up like that, so we'll see what happens. But I will say that it is way better than what Billions has been giving me this year.
I'm an episode behind on Billions, so I cannot comment on that as of yet, but I will say I am still enjoying Billions. And Malkovich's season was just incredible. Absolutely incredible performance.
Wasted.
Shots fired.
Wasted Malkovich.
Shots fired by Mr. Andrew Webster. And you know what? Shots fired, hopefully, on this weekend of Game of Thrones. And we know there will be lots of shots fired between the Raptors and Sixers and the rest of the NBA playoffs as we head into the second round. How's that for a long segue? Wow.
I like that. No, it's good.
But, of course, we are here to talk about basketball as always. But If you agree or disagree, don't hesitate to let us know what you think on any place that you find this podcast, whether it's on YouTube, just search Sheldon Alexander, or On Blast Podcast. Same thing goes for iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play. Search On Blast Podcast. Get on this feed. You will find the Ball on Blast Podcast, which, each and every week we try to kick up on what's going on with the NBA and, of course, a little pop culture talk as well, which I think will be Thrones season for the next couple weeks. But
yeah, unless something crazy happens.
Totally. But as well on...
Might have to do some Marvel. We might have to do might have to do an Endgame thing here in a little while.
Okay.
I might have to go see that next week.
I could get down with that. But also on the same feed, on the On Blast Podcast feed, you'll also find the Wrap It Up Podcast, which is our Raps post-game show, which airs live on Twitter after each and every Toronto Raptors game.
And is big things.
Hey, it's been a big year for the On Blast Podcast crew. We've seen the numbers go up like crazy, like over and over and over again on both this podcast, the Ball on Blast podcast. Same thing for the Wrap It Up podcast. It's been a really good year for the On Blast Podcast Network, and that's all in thanks to you, the fans, for sure, for rocking with us and, interacting with us not only on the podcast, but also on our social media platforms. So, where can I direct all the Raptors fans, Webby, to send their comments to you? Please.
Please hit me up on Twitter and tell me why you think Kawhi Leonard is better than Joel Embiid. And get ready for me to tell you that you're wrong. But hit me up at aWebster84.
Oh, I might hit you up sooner than later, Mr. Andrew Webster. But of course, my name is Sheldon Alexander. You can find me on Twitter at Shell Alexander and on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander. Of course, I used to pray for times like this to rhyme like this. This is the Ball on Blast podcast. As always, unpolished and unapologetic. Until next time, see ya.
Peace.
This is Ball on Blast, part of the On Blast Podcast Network. Available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube. If you like it, then subscribe and tell your friends. Holla.